Class 4, Verb tenses used in active and passive voice. The following is a summary of active and passive forms of all verb tenses. Remember that in active forms the subject of the sentence is the person or thing that does the action. In passive constructions, the verb is performed by someone or something other than the subject. Often, the action is done to the subject by someone else. Let's explain. Present time. First, present simple. Use the simple present tense to make a generalization, to present a state of being, or to indicate a habitual or repeated action. In active the structure is base form or SES form. Example, Professor Brown teaches at Hunter. In passive the structure is am, is, are plus past participle. For example, Sonia is taught by Professor Brown. Present progressive. Use the present progressive to describe an ongoing activity or a temporary action. In active the structure is am, is, are plus ing. For example, the students are learning Spanish. In passive voice the structure is am is are plus being plus ed, en. For example, classes are being conducted in Spanish. Present perfect. Use the present perfect to describe an action occurring in the past but relevant to the present or extending to the present. In active the structure is has have plus ed, en. For example, Hunter has opened a language institute in East Harlem. In passive the structure is has have plus been plus ed, en. For example, the language institute has been opened to relocate students off the main campus. Present perfect progressive. Use the present perfect progressive to describe an ongoing action beginning before now and is still relevant to the present. In active the structure is has have plus been plus ing. For example, Hunter has been awarding BA and MA diplomas for over 100 years. In passive, because of awkward construction, the perfect progressive form is not used. Now it's the turn for past time. Simple past. Use the simple past to indicate a general or habitual action occurring in the past or at a specific time in the past. In active the structure is regular or irregular form of the verb. For example, our family bought all our clothes at Sears when I was young. In passive the structure is was were plus ed, en. For example, the money was given to me to buy new clothes. Past progressive. Use the past progressive to indicate an ongoing action in the past or an action continuing through a specific past time. In active the structure is was were plus ing. Example, Mary and Paul were dating in those days. In passive the structure is was were plus being plus ed, en. For example, one afternoon, Mary was being kissed by Paul when her mother passed by. Past perfect. Use the past perfect to indicate an action completed prior to a particular time or before another action in the past. In active the structure is had plus ed, en. For example, Mary's mother was shocked because she had forbidden her daughter to date. In passive the structure is had plus been plus ed, en. For example, Mary had been kissed many times before that day. Past perfect progressive. Use the past perfect progressive to indicate a continuing action that began before a past action or time. In active the structure is had plus been plus ing. Example, Mary had been trying to tell her mother about Paul for a long time. In passive is not possible to create a sentence. And finally, the future time. Simple future. Use the future to indicate an action that is expected to take place at a future time. In active the structure is will going to plus base form of the verb. For example, Paul and Mary will marry in June. In passive the structure is will plus be plus ed, en. Example, they will be married by a priest and a rabbi. Or also the active structure could be am is are going to plus base form of the verb. For example, Mary is going to wear her grandmother's gown. And in the case of passive, it could be am is are going to be plus ed, en. For example, the gown is going to be adjusted to fit Mary. Now in the tenses future progressive, future perfect and future perfect progressive, the passive voice is not used. So, this is the end of the video class and also the end of Unit 2. Check out all the videos to have a better understanding of active and passive voice, and you can practice for your quizzes and evaluations. See you on Unit 3.